Okay, good morning, guys. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Welcome to today's session for market analysis. This week is to be a bit quiet, but nonetheless, there's still a lot of events to go through and a lot of charts to understand. So I'm going to go quickly to a recap of what we did last week. So remember, we didn't have any session on Friday. So I'm going to talk about what we covered on Thursday, and then we come to today's or this week's session. So the first thing we can look at, is we've spoken about New Zealand dollar, US dollar, and we said expectations of a hawkish Fed plus a weaker reading makes this very bearish. And indeed, we came to this supply zone that we had plotted initially, and then we sold off from here. That's number one. So for today, I think the setup is still the same. As we head for this zone down here, then we'll be looking to see any opportunities to go short. In the event we have a recovery higher, then we'll still be looking for opportunities to go short at higher prices. So that's one thing to take note of. So you can use either market structure, supply demand zones, or whatever strategy it is to try and spot out shorting opportunities all the way up to this upper trend line. So if we do exceed, just a minute, if we do exceed that zone, then that's when it'll become bullish. So above here, again, as usual, if you can hear me, say hi. Also, if you have any questions, just type them out on the chats and I'll be able to get to them. Then we also had gold. Same thing, you are anticipating a reversal to this section. So it was either it goes lower or we look for selling opportunities higher. And then indeed we had one here. This was the zone that we had marked last time. So price rallied up to that point. Yeah, so I'm getting responses. So price rallied up to that point and then we sold off. So we are still, the sentiment is still the same for the better part of this week, but we will go through the calendar and see. So in this case, if you see any nice setups also on this chart, like we did here on Thursday, then that'll be a good area to also look for selling opportunities. So again, market structure, if you're having any reversal strategies, then this is a good place to look for continuation. The reason you're not, it's not ideal to look for setups below here is because you'll be chasing price. And as you know, when you're trading, it's very important that you get in at discounts. Either you're buying low and selling high, or selling high and buying low. So those are key points to look at when looking at the charts. And then the other chart we looked at was pound, which was muted, and this might continue unless you have anything out of the ordinary happening this week. So you might see a ranging market. So let me do this. Yeah, so you might see a ranging market. There is no news on pound this week. So that's that. And then we have a few comments on this. So on USD JPY, this one might be interesting for the week. Remember, we're in a trending in an upwards channel, and we had said we should expect either a reversal along this point, or if you're to be bullish, then we need to see it break out of this channel first. So in this case, I'm going to extend this for the week. So if you're looking at USD JPY, if you're looking at USD JPY, this is your channel. So at the moment, from the fundamentals that you're going to look at, it's a bit bearish. So that means there's selling potential back to this lower area over here. But in the event you want to become bullish, then wait for it to cross this point. Otherwise, you're going to see why the fundamentals are pointing towards a lower a higher Japanese yen, which means a lower US dollar against Japanese yen. Next, so this one, just plot it like this, and then use your strategy to know when to get appropriate entries. So this is on the lower time frame, where you'll need to know when to get appropriate entries. So just okay. So so that's a very interesting pair to look out for this week. So this is in a span of a whole week. So I think from here you can get the hang of it. If there are any good buying opportunities, for example, we have a selling point here. So these are easy areas to mark. Just the last candle before the down move. In this case, this was the last blue candle or bullish candle before the down move. So that might be a good area. Or if price goes higher, and this is, you have to use your strategy still, but these are just zones to watch out for. If price goes higher, then your next point is this resistance. And if price goes higher, then your last point is all the way up here. So if all fails, then that's when someone can become bullish. But as with the fundamentals, we might see it go lower. I came in a bit late, reiterate. Okay, so we look at gold again. So let's have a look at gold. Notice I've not yet gone to the fundamentals. So let's talk about this first. So the market sentiment at the moment is, so we have a meeting next week for the Fed. I think it's on, is it next week? It should be next week, May 3rd or something like that. So this week might be quiet. It might be very quiet this week. However, if you're trading and you see there is no good reason for something to trend really dramatically, then it provides good reversal trading opportunities. So in this case, for example, if we have like what happened on Thursday, where we had this strong trend upwards, but because there was no reason why gold should be strengthening fundamentally, then there was a supply zone here. That was a good reason to look for selling opportunities. The same thing for this week, but I'll cover this clearly once we get into the fundamentals a bit. You need to know what's driving the market, and then from there, you build up your case on the technicals aspect. Okay, again, for NASDAQ, nothing much. We still haven't broken our level. We've been here for the better part of this month, and we're going to see how we're going to, what's the way forward on this. So I'm just going through quickly all the charts. We'll be looking at, will you be looking at Euro USD? Yeah, we'll be looking at Euro USD this week. Just a minute. You can't see this. Okay, so we'll be looking at Euro USD also. So that's one thing to note. Okay, now let's go to the charts, to the calendars first, real quick. Okay. Okay, so we'll look at the calendar, what the fundamentals are saying, and then go back to the charts and try and see what we can pick out from there. Okay, so today is very quiet. On Monday, we just have this coming out, and then we have this. Again, we said if you're looking at news, you need to learn how to verify everything you see on this section, from the previous, the forecasts, and the impact. So in this case, is this really going to affect the market? The only way you're going to know that is you need to expound and then see what the previous announcements have been. So CB consumer confidence is not on Forex Factory. You can just Google it and see when are the previous announcements. Did it have an impact on the chart? If no, there is no point of you looking at this. So most of the first 2 days of the week are going to be muted this week. So we're going to be putting our eyes on CPI. I think we'll go through this tomorrow. And then from here, chances are the other most important event for the week is probably the BOJ, Bank of Japan. And then probably that's it. You have, oh yeah, and Swiss franc. We'll also look at this today. So those are 3 charts of importance to us. We have Australian dollar, Japanese yen, Swiss franc, and gold. Okay. So I'll just go through a bit of the what's making the headlines. And this week we have, so ideally, what has been happening is that there is a prospect that the Fed might pause. And you know that if the Fed is pausing, we expect a weaker dollar, especially from emerging markets. Yeah, but that is not translating. If you look at the charts at the moment, we are not seeing a weaker dollar. So let's look at the charts. We are not seeing a weaker dollar. For example, if you were to go to USD, this is usually the first currency that trends whenever there is that fundamental prospect of the dollar weakening. But what you're seeing on USD Chinese yen is renminbi. It's a very long name. But yeah, what we're seeing on Chinese renminbi is we are trending higher instead of trending lower. So it means there's something off about the markets. And chances are there is still not a strong belief that the dollar might be weakening. So, but we should be looking for signs for that. And that also applies with stocks. Stocks should be trending higher because we expect a pause. But you see, we've stagnated at this point almost the entire month. So let's dig further into this and see what is happening. So in this case, they're saying there's a debt ceiling. Usually US has this debt ceiling debate almost every year, which I've never understood. But yeah, so they usually have to raise their debt ceiling every year. And I think that is coming into focus this period or this time of the year. Remember there was a year they almost closed down the government because they didn't want to raise the debt ceiling and they didn't want to pay for, and they couldn't fund or finance government activity. So that's one thing to look at. So they're saying here, normally one might expect the Chinese renminbi to be leading in the recovery when the dollar starts weakening, but that's not the case. And then the recommendation of the alternative is the other case to build up is next week we have the meeting, so also the market might be a bit mute. So here they're saying that here it might be more defensive. That means investors might not necessarily start getting into dollar activity, but maybe Japanese yen and Swiss franc, of which now the pair that we're going to look at is USD JPY and USD Japanese yen. So these are the key ones. We know that the Swiss National Bank is still on a rate hike cycle. So that gives, that means they're looking for a stronger Swiss franc. So that's going to support Swiss franc strength. And we also know that during times of distress, people usually tend to buy Japanese yen. Yeah, so based on that only, if you were to go back to your charts, first off with USD JPY, now we know why this looks like it's going to go lower. USD is going to go lower based on the reason that we might be seeing more investors piling up onto the Japanese yen, making it stronger. So there's a very strong argument to make for bearishness in the market. That's number one. So for me, I'll probably be looking for discount areas to get in. So discount, that means if it reverses, those are going to be good shorting opportunities. However, the alternative scenario is if we break this area, that's when we'll be looking to get in as looking for buying positions. And then the other one we've talked about is USD Swiss franc. So if you look at Swiss franc, all the way from the weekly chart, we've just been going lower. And then that explains this, what we've read here explains why we expect this to continue even lower. So in this case, because the expectation is you're going to have a downtrend, again, it's good to just wait and look for selling opportunities, or the alternative scenario is if we have a change in market structure, then that becomes a bullish scenario. So there's always a bullish and bearish scenario in every case. So it's up to you to gauge However, the bias or the sentiment in the market is we might be heading lower. So it's up to the trader to look at strategies and techniques and technical analysis, that is, to see how you can trade this. Where is the JPY taken as a safe haven and not gold? Okay, that's a good question. So you know that in Japan, so let's look at that first while we continue. So I want you to look at this calendar over here. Usually, if you scroll down, you can see interest rates here. So number one, Japan is the third largest economy, but more importantly, Japan has had negative rates for the longest time. And remember, because it's the third largest economy, it also has very big firms, like investment firms, from insurance companies to hedge funds to all these big corporate firms. And when the world is looking optimistic, most of these firms will take their money offshore. Most of these Japanese firms will take their money offshore. And that makes the Japanese yen weaker. However, when there is distress in the global market, these firms will start bringing their money back home. And also, because there's capital inflow back to Japan, then this causes also a strengthening in the Japanese yen. And that's why when there's distress, normally we tend to see the Japanese yen becoming stronger. And that also follows because people expect that to be the case, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy or something like that. So people just have a habit of buying Japanese yen because these institutions take their money away from Japan when there's bullish sentiment in the market and then bring it back when there's distress in the market. Because financial institutions in Japan mainly do not invest in Japan because the interest rates are very low. So they can't get good returns on them. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Yeah, so the next thing we'll be looking at is ECB. So we know that we know our outlook for gold, for USD CHF, and for USD Japanese yen. So now we're going to look at euro. Okay. So I'll answer that while we're looking at euro also, the next question. So for the euro, it's going to be very mixed because of so there's been mixed data from the Eurozone. Also, the governing council, as they are called, the ECB, they usually have to vote for hiking decisions. And at the moment, it seems they are split between raising it by 0.25 or raising it by 0.5. Having said that, there's a whole article you can go and research on. We don't expect, let me get back to the charts. Okay, yeah, so we don't expect a very huge upside on Euro USD. Remember, on Euro USD, this is what we have, an upwards channel. From last week, I think we trended downwards to this lower. So I'm just extending these channels because we drew them last week. I don't have to redraw the charts per se. So I'll just extend this forward to cover for this week. Yeah, so in terms of technical analysis, we have a very optimal area to look for a buying opportunity. So in that case, so we have a very good reason because we are trending in a channel. We have a very good reason to aim for this. However, the fundamentals are not with us as of yet. So we need to wait for stronger confirmation fundamentally. But if the technicals are right, then the bullish target will be either to this sell zone or way up here, the upside of this channel. For a bearish case, then we'll need to see a break from this channel so that we can head lower like that. So that's for the bearish scenario. In that case, what do we have for, let me see, what we have for euro this week. So anything that is going to confirm we're going to raise rates higher, then it's going to make euro bullish. If not, we're going to have a bearish scenario. And for the week, the only thing that's going to give euro some momentum is probably this one, German CPI that we have on Friday. So that's a good news item to note or to look out for. So in that case, again, bearish scenario, just wait for the channel to be broken. Alternatively, for bullish case, the target will probably be on this supply zone, because there is a very limited upside even with this, because there's a lot of there is a lot that is still uncertain in the market at the moment. And then I remember we also looked at oil last week. So UK oil, remember we said we wait for this gap to be filled. So I had marked a level here that if in the event you wanted to buy, it still wouldn't have been a good buy, because we still have this huge gap that needs to be filled before any other type of sentiment needs to come in. Okay. So those are the charts for the day. Let me just go through the questions and see if you have any questions or any charts you need to review. You can just type them out on the comment section. So the first one for Japanese yen Avansat, Swiss franc, it's trading at all-time low. Yeah, so for Swiss franc, we've already mentioned. Okay, I think I wasn't sharing the charts when I was talking about the charts. Just a minute. Okay, so I'll just repeat one thing. Last week, we had this gap that we said needs to be filled. Yeah. I've noticed I was displaying the calendar. So again, on oil, we said we had this chart and we had a gap here that has to be filled. And we have to wait for the gap to be filled before looking for a directional bias. And indeed, we've been slowly trying to cover this gap over here that was created when we had the surprise cuts from OPEC. Then the other thing I looked at was Euro USD, where we said for a bearish case, we're in a channel. So if you have your Euro USD chart, just make sure to plot the channel as is. In terms of technical analysis, we can have a strong argument that this selling point might be a good target, because this is where supply is. This is where we started selling off. Yeah, that can be a strong argument. However, in the event it's a bearish scenario, then we'd wait for this channel to be broken. Once it's broken, then you can look for market structure to confirm lower prices. And then what else have we looked at? Okay, so the question on why, because if you look at your charts, the Swiss franc has been on a downtrend for the longest. So in this case, if I was to go on the daily, we can see this huge downtrend. And usually Switzerland is very strict with their policies. If they want the currency to devalue, they will do everything to make it devalue. And if they want it to be stronger, then they'll do everything to make it stronger. So in this case, if you are to look at the fundamentals to try and explain this, I don't know if I'm, yeah. Here, so they're saying at the same time, the Swiss National Bank is still threatening more rate hikes, suggesting that they're still keen on nominal Swiss franc appreciation. So it's the central bank that is most of the times very involved with how strong the currency should be. Remember, there's a time in the past they had a price cap and all these things. So if this is the case, then it can be explaining why the Swiss franc has been strengthening. And as long as the stance hasn't changed, then you should expect the trend to continue. Then now, if you combine that with other factors, like, for example, we're expecting a pause in the Fed hikes and bullishness in the market, then that means on the charts here, wait, is this thing visible? Let me zoom in first. So yeah, here. So it's saying at the same time, the Swiss National Bank is still threatening more rate hikes. So a combination of that and the expectation that the dollar is you're going to have a pause in the Fed is what is causing this downtrend that we're seeing on USD Swiss franc. So a good thing to do will be look for a currency that looks like it's going to weaken, and then pay it with Swiss franc, and then look for opportunities to trade on that trend. Okay. I have asked questions. Okay. Any other questions? Please share the link on the site. Okay. Okay. So for this one, this is an investment bank, so you can just go to this website. Oh, sorry, I'm sharing a different screen. So yeah, so this is for more in-depth economic analysis. They'll give things like price targets and ranges, but it's always recommended to do your own technical analysis and fundamental analysis. So for example, Euro USD, this is the price range that is expected for Euro USD, for pound and Euro GBP. These are the ranges based on fundamentals. So it's good to have those ones also when you're confirming your technical analysis that is in play. And then for SNB, they're saying it's going to match lows. So incline to the match lows near this. This is on Euro Swiss franc. So that's one thing. Again, confirm with your fundamentals and then see from there how to go about it. Okay. So having said that, let us wait for more data to come in for the week so that we have clearer charts. For now, most of the things are as is from where we had from Friday. So that's how we'd expect this week or today. Actually, today is going to be very quiet, but it's a good thing to look at your trades, look at what happened last week, look at gold, have some extra analysis on that because it's going to be volatile. Next week is going to be one heck of a week, one very interesting week. Because, yeah, for MC statements, yeah. So next week it's good to prepare this week so that you know what you're going to do next week. So having said that, if there are more, oh yeah, thanks for the technical analysis. Yeah, so for oil, I hope this one was clear because I know there were people who are looking to get in long, yet there was a gap. So, I'm not sharing the screen again. So yes, I'm saying for oil, this was the screen. Always wait for a gap, especially when the market is quiet. Always wait for the gap to be filled, and if it's very huge like this, because it usually creates, it's called buy side inefficiency, sell side imbalance, something like that, where buyers have been filled, but some orders that are on this section have not been filled. So the market has to come back and fill the orders fast before now knowing where the next direction is going to be. And the bigger the gap, the more it's going to create like it has like a magnetic effect on price. So it always has to come back. Okay. So you can contact on the socials for this one. Are you reachable? You can always find on the socials and then you can have further discussions there. So if FXPesa socials on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Yeah. Okay, then another question, what's the best time to place a trade? That one is up to the strategy you're using. I usually use the 4-hour and daily charts to understand, number one, the sentiment, and daily charts and fundamentals go hand in hand. So it gives you a clearer picture, or it makes it easier for you to explain what's happening fundamentally. And then after you're done with daily and H4 for the theme, the bias, and the context, which we've covered also in the trainer videos, then now anything lower is just for entries. So that's how we cover most of the sessions. So anything from H1 going down, if you're looking, because there's a lot of noise for you to try and pinpoint what the fundamentals are, how the fundamentals are driving price when you start going down from H1 to the 1 minute chart. But anything higher, it's very good, especially to know the context and also to know there are times when you can tell a trend is going to end just by looking at the fundamentals. And for example, right now, for Swiss franc, if you can explain why we're in a downtrend, then you're able to be at a higher probability to anticipate when this downtrend is going to end. Example, in this case, we know that the Swiss National Bank is very adamant on hiking more. That's why we have this downtrend. And most of the central banks at the moment are either looking to pause or to stop, to pause hikes. Most of them are looking to pause hikes. Okay. So I think that's it for today's session. Happy trading. Let's meet here tomorrow and just have a recap of how this day has gone. And hopefully you get better setups, better charts. In the meantime, happy peep hunting, and enjoy the rest of the day.